Alright everybody, lock in, because what we are about to walk through is the single most explosive, most jaw-dropping, most legally combustible chapter Claressa Shields has ever unlocked in front of a live audience, and I need you to understand right now that this is not another lightweight rumor cycle, this is the moment the whole illusion collapses on camera. Welcome back to the channel, and if this is your first time landing here, buckle in, because we are about to peel this thing apart layer by layer until there is nothing left but the truth Claressa Shields does not want you to see. Let me set the table for you. Our headline act, Claressa Shields, the meltdown monarch of women's boxing, has decided, in the middle of a lawsuit storm, in the middle of a sister feud, in the middle of a public relationship scandal, that the smartest move on the board right now is to launch a hair-selling business. Yes, you heard that correctly. Claressa Shields, the same woman who cannot go 48 hours without a new online skirmish, is now standing in front of a camera holding bundle after bundle, flashing that rehearsed grin, acting like she has been in the beauty industry her entire life. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why this rollout is not a business launch, it is a smokescreen, and it is already crumbling. Here is the wrinkle nobody in her camp wants to address. If you take even a passing glance at how Claressa Shields treats her own hair on any given week, you will notice something obvious: hair care has never been anywhere near the top of her priority list. This is a woman who cycles through the same style for months at a stretch, who sweats out her installs in training camp without a second thought, and who has never once presented herself publicly as any kind of beauty authority. So the idea that Claressa Shields is suddenly the face of a bundle brand, the trusted voice you are supposed to give your money to, is, on its face, a marketing decision that defies every rule of authenticity. And authenticity, in this industry, is the only currency that matters. Now let me be crystal clear about what is actually going on here. Claressa Shields is not selling hair because she loves hair. Claressa Shields is selling hair because she has convinced herself that any idea her name is attached to will automatically print money. That is the operating system running behind everything Claressa Shields does, the belief that the brand of Claressa Shields is bulletproof, that her audience will follow her into any category, any venture, any pivot, no matter how disconnected it is from her actual expertise. And that, right there, is the corrosive ego architecture we are going to be dissecting for the rest of this breakdown. Pivot with me for a second, because the hair business is only the surface layer. Underneath it, Claressa Shields has been throwing jabs on social media at a velocity that would be impressive if it were not so exhausting. This is a woman who claims, publicly, repeatedly, with a straight face, that her schedule is too packed to entertain drama, that she has a fight on the calendar, that she is locked into training camp, that she has no time to engage with the noise. And yet, if you monitor her feed for even one afternoon, you will find her replying, reposting, subtweeting, screenshotting, and dragging half a dozen different people into her orbit. Claressa Shields is not the unbothered figure she markets herself as. Claressa Shields is one of the most bothered public personalities in professional sports right now, and the receipts are stacked so high you could build a wall out of them. Take the recent repost that has been circulating. Claressa Shields shared a line that read something like, "You cannot reconcile with people who are not honest about the way they handle you." On the surface it sounds like a healing quote. It sounds like a woman doing the inner work. But peel it back, and what Claressa Shields is actually broadcasting is a coded complaint against anyone who has ever held her accountable. In plain English, what Claressa Shields is saying is, you cannot reconcile with people who refuse to let me have the last word. That is the real translation. Because here is the pattern nobody in her circle will name out loud. Claressa Shields can dish out shot after shot after shot, but the moment somebody swings back with equal force, suddenly the narrative flips, suddenly she is the wounded party, suddenly the other person is the abuser. Claressa Shields believes, in her bones, that money buys silence. She believes that platform buys compliance. She believes that as long as you fall in line with her version of events, the friendship stands. But the second you disagree, the second you correct the record, the second you push back with the same energy she brought to your doorstep, you are cut off. You are labeled an op. You are burned in public. That is not conflict resolution. That is a hostage negotiation dressed up as a friendship. And speaking of burned bridges, let us walk into one of the ugliest developments in this saga, the sister situation. Claressa Shields recently reposted a line that read, "Your own family be the ones hating on you. That is why them come out of the mouth calling people out of their name." And then she stamped it with, "Cut off, my sister is no longer my sister, tired of the whole act, stay away from me." Read that again. Slowly. This is a grown, professional athlete, with an 8-figure profile, using her platform to publicly disown a sibling. There is no adult in her circle who is capable of pulling her back from the ledge. There is no manager, no publicist, no legal counsel who has the standing to say, "Claressa, put the phone down." And that vacuum of accountability is exactly what is going to sink her long before any opponent in the ring ever does. Let me tell you why this matters for the hair business. Any brand consultant worth their retainer will tell you that a spokesperson is not just a face, a spokesperson is a signal. When Claressa Shields becomes the face of a bundle line, she is not just selling hair, she is selling herself as trustworthy, stable, aspirational. But how do you sell aspiration when the spokesperson is publicly disowning her own sister in real time? How do you sell trust when the spokesperson is in the middle of a lawsuit for allegedly putting her hands on somebody? How do you sell stability when the spokesperson cannot go a single week without a new online meltdown? You cannot. The math does not work. And any investor who signed on to this venture without doing a background scan on the last 12 months of Claressa Shields' content is about to learn a very expensive lesson. Next lane. Claressa Shields is currently in Miami, and if the reporting is accurate, so is Croisson. Now, for anybody just tuning in, Croisson is the other main character in this ongoing serial, a personality who has been colliding with Claressa Shields in the digital arena for months. And the fact that both of these figures are now breathing the same Miami air at the same moment is not a coincidence. It is a collision loaded on the calendar. It is wreckage ready to unfold. When you put two corrosive ego architects, two self-mythologizing wreckers, two reality-detached headline magnets, inside the same city, inside the same news cycle, inside the same window of public attention, something is going to break, and cameras are going to catch it. I want to be honest with you. I did not ask for this crossover. Nobody in the audience asked for it. And yet here we are, watching two personalities who cannot self-regulate walk directly into each other's blast radius. Claressa Shields did not need this trip. Croisson did not need this stream. Neither of them had a legitimate reason to escalate, and yet both of them chose to escalate anyway. And I promise you, whatever unfolds in Miami over the next 72 hours is going to reshape the entire narrative around Claressa Shields for the rest of this quarter. Keep the tab open for that follow-up, because I am already deep in the Croisson stream footage and the breakdown is going to be surgical. But first, let us stay in the Claressa Shields lane, because the receipts keep multiplying. Claressa Shields recently reposted another line that read, "Reposting tweets that do not even resonate with her." And I have to laugh, because that is exactly what Claressa Shields herself has been doing all month. She is the poster child for reposting content that does not match her reality. She reposts quotes about focus while her feed is a whirlwind of distraction. She reposts quotes about integrity while she is publicly entangled with a married man. She reposts quotes about peace while she is announcing a lawsuit-adjacent hair launch. Every repost is a mirror, and every mirror is showing her the exact opposite of what she wants the audience to see. On the subject of the married man situation, because we have to address it, because everybody in the comments keeps asking, let me be direct. If Claressa Shields wanted to demonstrate a fraction of the growth she claims to be doing on her healing quotes, the very first move would be to isolate and separate from a married man. That is the actual healing work. That is the actual boundary. Not a Pinterest quote. Not a subtweet. Not a repost. A concrete decision to step out of a situation that is, by every reasonable metric, incompatible with the woman Claressa Shields insists she is becoming. But that decision is not being made. Which tells you everything you need to know about the gap between the persona and the person. Let me talk to you about the training angle for a second, because this is one of the few places where I will actually give Claressa Shields a small piece of credit. Her current hairstyle, the shorter, tucked-in look she has been wearing lately, is genuinely more practical for a professional boxer in camp than the long, heavy braids she used to cycle through. Anybody who has been in a training environment understands what I am saying. Sweat, headgear, ring work, long braids are a logistical nightmare. So on that one microscopic point, Claressa Shields is making a smart call. Wrap it in a silk scarf overnight, keep it protected, and she is set. That is the one and only cosmetic decision Claressa Shields has made in the last year that I can defend on a technical level. And even that concession is going to sting for some of you in the audience, but I am not here to lie to you, I am here to walk you through the whole picture, the good calls and the bad ones. But the good calls are outnumbered. Because right after we give her that small credit, Claressa Shields immediately goes and does something that undoes it. She dolls herself up for another photo opportunity, and she reposts another passive-aggressive line, and she starts talking about her upcoming fight in a way that makes it personal, that makes it small, that makes it beneath the level of a champion. This is a woman who should be letting her record do the talking. This is a woman whose accolades, objectively, are historic. And yet Claressa Shields cannot resist the pull of the online argument. She cannot resist the last word. She cannot resist inserting herself into every conversation that flickers across her timeline. That is not the behavior of a champion. That is the behavior of an insecure competitor who is desperate to be discussed. Here is why other female boxers keep their distance from Claressa Shields, and I want you to hear this clearly. It is not because they are jealous. It is not because they are afraid of her power. It is because Claressa Shields has demonstrated, over and over again, that she cannot separate the professional from the personal. She cannot compete without contempt. She cannot sign a contract without making it a grievance. She cannot promote a fight without turning it into a character assassination. And after a while, other athletes look at that pattern and they make a rational business decision: I am not sharing a poster with this person. I am not sharing a press conference with this person. I am not sharing a locker room hallway with this person. Because every interaction becomes a story, and every story becomes a headache, and every headache becomes a legal exposure. Claressa Shields recently posted another line that read, I would rather be the one getting talked about than be the hater doing the talking. And I want to stop right there, because that is shrunk brain logic dressed up as wisdom. That is narrow lens reasoning masquerading as a mic drop. Because here is what Claressa Shields does not seem to understand: disagreement is not hate. Critique is not hate. Accountability is not hate. The moment you flatten every criticism into hate, you are telling the audience that you are incapable of processing feedback. You are telling the audience that you cannot self-correct. You are telling the audience that the only version of you that exists in your own mind is the flawless version. And that, right there, is the calling card of a self-mythologizing wrecker. So let us tally the receipts. On one side of the scale we have the corrosive ego, the involvement with a married man, the escalating attacks on other female boxers, the public disowning of a sibling, the ongoing lawsuit for allegedly putting her hands on somebody. On the other side of the scale we have a hair business rollout that Claressa Shields wants you to believe is proof of her good heart. Where exactly, in this ledger, does the good heart appear? Where does that leave the aspirational brand narrative? How do we square that with the spokesperson pitch? The only frame the numbers support is the one Claressa Shields keeps trying to sell, the victim frame. The perpetual victim. The eternally misunderstood underdog. Even though, by every measurable metric, Claressa Shields is one of the most protected, most platformed, most publicly supported athletes in her division. I want to loop in Melinda for a second, because this is where the situation gets even stranger. Claressa Shields recently reposted a clip from Melinda's channel, a creator I used to follow closely a while back, a creator who put out genuinely thoughtful content, a creator whose voice deserved a much bigger audience than the algorithm ever gave her. And when Claressa Shields grabbed a Melinda clip and tried to fold it into her own narrative, my first question was, what was Melinda actually talking about in the original? Because whatever Melinda was addressing, I promise you it was not the Claressa Shields situation. It was almost certainly a broader conversation about interpersonal dynamics, about spiritual growth, about the kind of self-work that Claressa Shields keeps referencing but never actually practices. And Claressa Shields, in her reality-detached way, grabbed a piece of Melinda's work and turned it into a subtweet at Croisson. That is not homage. That is misappropriation. Now, on the Croisson side, and I want to be fair here, Croisson is not a saint either. Croisson has her own pattern of hypocrisy. Croisson has fooled a lot of people into believing she operates on a moral plane that her actual behavior does not support. So I am not sitting here defending Croisson. I am simply saying that when Claressa Shields tries to leverage a witchcraft framing to score points against Croisson, she is engaging in the exact same performative behavior she accuses Croisson of. It is the pot and the kettle recording a duet. And speaking of Croisson, the fact that Claressa Shields keeps promoting that particular song, the one everybody in the audience already knows is a Croisson diss track, is another decision that makes me question whether Claressa Shields has any legal counsel at all. Because here is the situation in plain English: you are being sued for allegedly putting your hands on somebody, and you are simultaneously rubbing that same person's face in it on social media by repromoting a song built around the incident. Who is her legal advisor? Who is signing off on this content strategy? Who is looking at the discovery calendar and saying, yes, Claressa, go ahead and post that? Because if that person exists, they should be fired. And if that person does not exist, then Claressa Shields is currently freelancing her own legal exposure, which is somehow even more concerning. I am starting to believe there is nobody in the room with her. No filter. No brake pedal. No senior voice saying, pump the brakes on this one. Every social media platform she touches is another exhibit in a case she is actively losing. And every time Claressa Shields grabs the mic to explain herself, she deepens the hole. This meltdown monarch cannot help herself. She keeps circling back to the same well, drawing up the same bucket, and drinking the same water, even when everybody watching can see it is poisoned. She recently posted, "Stop trying to little girl me." That was the phrase. Stop trying to little girl me. And I want to hold that up for a second, because the framing is so revealing. Claressa Shields is telling the audience, do not diminish me, do not shrink me, do not talk down to me. Fine. Fair enough. But then in the very same news cycle, Claressa Shields is allowing Pep to take credit for developments in her career that Pep did not build. So if we are going to have a conversation about being diminished, let us have the full conversation. Let us include the part where Claressa Shields is being publicly credited away by a figure who did not put in the actual work. Let us include the part where Claressa Shields is standing next to that dynamic and saying nothing, because saying something would fracture the fragile alliance she is protecting. Do you see the contradiction? She wants the audience to defend her from being little-girled, but she will not defend herself from being credit stolen. That is not empowerment. That is selective outrage on a schedule. Let me pull back for a second and give you the wider aerial view, because the individual data points are damning, but the pattern is worse. Claressa Shields is now inside a feedback loop that no amount of platform, no amount of purse money, no amount of PR spin can break. Every time she posts, she generates a new problem. Every time she reposts, she reveals a new contradiction. Every time she launches a new business, she attaches her tarnished brand to a new market. And every time she attaches to a new market, she taints a new set of business partners. The Claressa Shields brand is not appreciating. It is depreciating. And the hair business is going to be the first commercial venture that catches the fallout. I want to tell you what I think happens next, because we might as well forecast it. Within the next 30 days, one of three things is going to occur. Option A, the hair business quietly folds, is rebranded, or is transferred to a partner who scrubs Claressa Shields off the packaging. Option B, the lawsuit produces a settlement, and the settlement contains a non-disclosure clause that forces Claressa Shields into a temporary social media diet, which she will inevitably violate. Option C, the Miami collision with Croisson produces a viral incident that becomes the anchor of both of their next news cycles, and Claressa Shields loses even more control of the narrative. My money is on some hybrid of A and C, because Claressa Shields does not have the discipline to avoid the Miami confrontation, and the hair business does not have the infrastructure to survive the resulting PR wave. And here is the part one want you to sit with. None of this had to happen. Claressa Shields is one of the most accomplished pugilists of her generation. Her record, the actual ledger of wins, championships, historic firsts, is genuinely impressive. If Claressa Shields simply closed her social media apps for 6 months, showed up to training camp, prepared for her next opponent, and let her performance speak, she would be one of the most respected athletes in the sport. But she cannot do it. The itch is too strong. The last word compulsion is too loud. The self-mythologizing engine is too well-oiled. And so she keeps burning the very asset that made her famous, the asset of being taken seriously. Let me leave you with a closing thought, because I know this video has been heavy and I want to give you something to chew on. There is a version of the Claressa Shields story where all of this becomes a redemption arc. A version where she steps away from the timeline, mends the sister relationship in private, exits the married man entanglement, resolves the lawsuit quietly, and returns to boxing with a clarified purpose. That version is still theoretically on the table. But it requires Claressa Shields to do the one thing she has never demonstrated the capacity to do: sit down, be quiet, and let the noise die on its own. Everything I have seen from Claressa Shields over the past year suggests she is incapable of that stillness. And until she proves otherwise, every product she launches, every brand she attaches to, and every business partner who signs onto her orbit is going to inherit the volatility. Now let us zoom in on one more angle before we wrap, because I promised you a full picture and I do not shortchange the audience. The people around Claressa Shields, the yes voices, the enablers, the ones getting a check to keep her happy, they are not going to warn her. They are financially incentivized to keep the meltdown monarch spinning. Because as long as Claressa Shields is generating content, they are generating revenue. As long as Claressa Shields is trending, they are trending with her. It is a parasitic economy, and Claressa Shields is both the host and the meal. Until an outside force, a court ruling, a sponsor pullout, a broadcast partner drawing a line, imposes a hard stop, Claressa Shields is going to keep escalating, because there is no internal governor telling her when to fall back. And that is precisely why the hair business is doomed. Because a hairline, unlike a boxing match, does not have a referee. There is no bell. There is nobody in the corner throwing in a towel. It is just Claressa Shields, a camera, a shipment of bundles, and a marketing plan that assumes her name still carries the weight it did 3 years ago. But 3 years is a lifetime in the attention economy. The Claressa Shields brand of 2023 could have moved bundles. The Claressa Shields brand of today cannot even move a coherent apology. Retail does not forgive volatility, and neither does the customer. Before I close this out, I want to underscore one more layer, because you deserve to have the full architecture. The reason Claressa Shields keeps promoting the diss song, the reason she keeps grabbing quotes that do not fit her situation, the reason she keeps entangling herself with Melinda's content, with Croisson's stream, with Pep's credit grabs, is because Claressa Shields does not have an original narrative to sell right now. She is borrowing other people's stories to prop up her own. That is what a person does when their own well has run dry. That is what a public figure does when the actual life they are living does not generate content the audience wants to consume. So they scrape from everybody else's yard, and they patch the pieces together, and they hope the audience will not notice the seams. But the audience always notices the seams. Always. Alright, I have unloaded enough for one sitting, because I know your ear needs a break, and I know your feed is about to be flooded with everybody else's takes on the Miami situation once it breaks. Boost the signal on this video if any of this hit, because that is the only reason the algorithm will keep pushing this breakdown to the people who need to see it. Punch that engagement button, drop your read in the comments, and tell me which angle you want me to open up next, the Croisson stream, the Pep credit grab, the Melinda misappropriation, or the legal timeline. Whatever the audience wants first, that is what I will queue up. Lock in for the next drop, because I am already halfway through the Croisson footage and the breakdown is going to be surgical. As always, thank you for spending this time with me, thank you for being sharp enough to sit through the full breakdown instead of the 90-second clip version, and I will catch you in the very next one. No, you already know how we do it. SSSSSSSSS.